Before a single AI chip earns a dollar, someone must make the power, route it safely, and remove the heat. The IEA expects data center electricity demand to nearly double by 2030, while power bottlenecks slow construction. Three public companies are collecting the clearest receipts at those gates. One looks like the best buy today. Surprisingly, it is not the fastest grower. This is the part of the AI boom that exists before a single model is trained. Turbines, transformers, switchgear, backup power, coolant pumps, and heat exchangers. The theme is exciting, but excitement is not the receipt. Orders, backlog, margins, and cash flow are the receipt. Now put a number on that route. In the IEA base case, global data center electricity use reaches roughly 945 terawatt hours by 2030, about 15% annual growth from 2024 through 2030. In that outlook, US consumption rises about 130% over the same period. Efficiency will improve. But more campuses, more capacity, and denser racks can overwhelm gains from better chips and cooling. That is why the investment story has three gates. Gate 1, create enough electricity. Gate 2, transform voltage, isolate faults, provide backup, and deliver stable power. Gate 3, remove heat fast enough to keep expensive accelerators running. At each gate, three questions matter. Is demand turning into orders? Are those orders producing profitable growth and cash? And how much success is already in the stock price? The first company owns the largest backlog in the group, but it can collect twice along this path when new power is created and again when that power has to reach the customer.
The first gate belongs to GE Vernova, ticker GEV. Its role starts with the machines that make electricity, large gas turbines, generators, and the service network that keeps them operating. But GE Vernova also owns electrification businesses that help move and manage power across the grid. That combination matters. An AI developer may secure land and chips years before the local grid can support the load. In that situation, utilities need more generation. Data centers may need dedicated or on-site generation. And the electricity still has to reach the site through transformers, substations, and grid equipment. Now look at the receipts. In the second quarter, GE Vernova booked $24.2 billion of orders, up 88% organically. Backlog reached $176 billion. And gas power equipment backlog plus slot reservations grew to 116 gigawatts, with management anticipating at least 125 gigawatts by year-end. The data center number is even more direct. Orders tied to data centers exceeded $5 billion in the first half of 2026. That was more than double the company's entire 2025 total. This is not just a reservation book growing somewhere in the future. Quarterly revenue increased 22% to $11.1 billion. Adjusted EBITDA margin reached 11.3%, up 340 basis points organically. And free cash flow was $5.1 billion more than the company produced in all of 2025, although quarterly cash flow can be lumpy. Here is the variant view. The easy story is that GE Vernova sells gas turbines into an electricity shortage. The stronger story is that it can participate twice. First by helping create new megawatts, and then through the grid equipment required to connect those megawatts to real customers. The installed turbine fleet can also create a long service tail after the original equipment ships. Now the objection. A backlog is not a bank account. Power projects are long cycle. Permits, financing, grid connections, customer schedules, and factory capacity can delay conversion. Wind remains a more difficult business inside the portfolio. And after a major share price run, investors already expect strong execution. Still, GE Vernova currently gives me the best risk-adjusted setup of the three. It has the deepest backlog, improving margins, direct data center orders, a growing service opportunity, and on a rough trailing earnings basis, the lowest valuation temperature in this group. My posture would be patient accumulation, not chasing a vertical move. But a turbine cannot plug directly into an AI rack. The electricity has to become usable. That brings us to Eaton, ticker ETN. If GE Vernova is the source, Eaton is the controlled pathway. Transformers change voltage. Switchgear isolates faults. Breakers protect equipment. Uninterruptible power systems bridge disturbances. Busway and distribution equipment carry electricity through the facility and toward the racks. None of that is glamorous. All of it is expensive to get wrong. That is why Eaton's advantage is not one spectacular AI product. It is the number of places where a data center designer cannot remove Eaton's category without increasing risk. The current receipts are strong. Second quarter company sales reached a record $8.5 billion, up 21%. Electrical Americas organic sales grew 18%, and operating margin reached 27.5%. More important for this thesis, electrical sector data center orders increased approximately 85% from the prior year, while related revenue increased approximately 65%. Electrical Americas backlog rose 33%. Electrical global backlog more than doubled, helped by the addition of Boyd Thermal. That acquisition adds an interesting twist. Eaton paid roughly $9.6 billion for Boyd Thermal, expanding from electrical distribution deeper into thermal components and systems. In other words, Eaton is trying to own more of the path from the grid toward the chip, not merely the gray electrical room outside it. The bull case is durability. Data centers and distributed IT were 21% of Eaton's 2025 sales, not the entire company. Utilities, commercial buildings, industrial facilities, and aerospace add other growth engines. That diversification can make Eaton less explosive than a pure data center stock, but it can also make the earnings stream more resilient. Now, the devil's advocate. Eaton has spent heavily on acquisitions. Integration has to work. Electrical Americas margin improved sequentially, but it remained below the prior year quarter even while sales and orders accelerated. Data center projects can shift, and at roughly 44 times trailing earnings in the latest snapshot, investors are already paying a quality multiple. So Eaton is not my bargain pick. It is my quality compounder. Broad exposure, excellent positioning, and a business I would rather buy on weakness than chase after a surge. And now we reach the point where electricity becomes heat. So far, the first company has the strongest backlog and cash profile. The second has the broadest, most diversified power management platform. But the third company is growing faster than either one. Its margins are expanding. Its cash flow is accelerating. And it may have the most direct exposure to rising rack density. The catch is simple. Investors already know it. The third gate belongs to Vertiv, ticker VRT. Vertiv lives inside the critical infrastructure of the data center. It supplies power conditioning, backup systems, controls, services, and most important for the next generation of AI thermal management and liquid cooling. Every watt entering a processor eventually becomes heat. As rack density rises, the same physical room has to remove much more heat from a much smaller area. Traditional room cooling can become the wrong tool. Liquid systems move heat closer to where it is created through cold plates, coolant distribution units, pumps, manifolds, and heat rejection equipment. Vertiv's own architecture work shows why this matters. The company describes current GPU rack density around 140 kilowatts with visibility to more than 1 megawatt. It also says traditional rack level power distribution approaches physical limits near 350 kilowatts per rack. Those are company estimates, not industry guarantees. But the direction is clear. Denser compute changes both the electrical and thermal design of the facility. Now the receipts. Vertiv's second quarter sales increased 24% to $3.274 billion. Organic growth was 18%. Adjusted operating profit rose 51% and adjusted operating margin expanded 410 basis points to 22.6%. Cash conversion is also becoming real. Adjusted free cash flow reached $925 million, up 234%. And management now expects 30 to 32% organic sales growth for the full year, with adjusted earnings per share of $6.65 to $6.75. That is the strongest operating growth in this group. Profit is growing more than twice as fast as sales, margins are expanding, and cash flow is validating the story. But this is also where price matters most. Vertiv disclosed $15 billion of estimated backlog at the end of 2025, while warning that customers may cancel, reduce, or defer orders. The latest quarter included minor timing shifts and temporary supply chain congestion as projects grew larger and more complex. Capacity has to be added before all of the revenue arrives, and at roughly 62 times trailing earnings in the latest market snapshot, an ordinary quarter can disappoint even if the business remains excellent. Vertiv may have the highest operating upside. It also has the least room for a normal mistake. My posture would be a smaller position, disciplined entry points, and close attention to whether margin and cash flow continue to grow faster than sales. Now put the entire power stack back together. GE Vernova helps create the megawatts and connect them to the grid. Eaton turns that electricity into controlled, protected power throughout the facility. Vertiv helps turn dense electrical load into reliable computing output by managing critical power and heat. All three can win, but they do not offer the same setup. In the August 18th market snapshot, GE Vernova traded around 29 times trailing earnings. Eaton was near 44 times. Vertiv was near 62 times. Those are rough temperature checks, not perfect apples-to-apples valuation models, but they show how much confidence investors are already expressing. So here is my ranking today. Number 3 is Vertiv. It has the fastest growth, the most direct rack density exposure, and perhaps the highest operating upside. But its valuation already demands exceptional execution. This is the aggressive choice. Number 2 is Eaton. It is the diversified quality compounder. Its grid-to-chip position touches more of the electrical system, and the broader portfolio reduces dependence on one AI product cycle. But the quality is not cheap. Number 1 is GE Vernova. It offers the strongest present balance of backlog, cash generation, direct data center receipts, service duration, and relative valuation. It does not have to be the fastest grower to offer the best risk-reward. That distinction matters. This is a stock ranking, not a business quality ranking. A fantastic business can still be the third best purchase when the share price already assumes fantastic execution. Before buying any version of this thesis, I would track 5 things. 1. Data center orders remain strong after the current capacity scramble. 2. Backlog converts into revenue without cancellations or margin erosion. 3. Hyperscaler capital spending becomes completed facilities, not abandoned announcements. 4. Capacity expansion improves delivery times without destroying supplier pricing. And 5, cash flow keeps confirming the earnings story. AI may be digital, but its growth is being rationed by physical systems. GE Vernova makes more capacity possible. Eaton turns that capacity into controlled power. Vertiv turns power and cooling into usable compute. The opportunity is real. The price you pay still decides the return. If you enjoyed this kind of evidence-first breakdown, leave a like and subscribe to Risk on Capital, and tell me in the comments which of these 3 companies you would own at today's price.